And that's where I want to welcome in our very, very good friend. You see him here every Friday, Clarence McKee, former Republican strategist, veteran of the Ronald Reagan campaign.
How are you?
How are you, my friend? All right,
Pretty
Clarence,
good,
public
pretty
opinion polls are showing the number one issue on the minds of Florida voters is health care. It's also an issue of national importance. So as compared to other states, how bad is it for the Republican Party? Will we see a blue wave here in Florida?
Well, if the vote were held today, the election, you'd probably have Gillum winning, be the first Democrat governor since Lawton Childs, I think, in 1993. But you know, as you pointed out, that real clear average is about 2-point spread in both the House, both the Senate race and the governor's race. First of all, for your viewers, you got 3.4 million votes cast so far. 42% are Republican, about 40% are Democrat. This will be the highest number of votes ever in a midterm down here. But let's put this all in perspective. You don't have one state here. You've got about four.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You got Southeast Florida, which is heavily Democratic, Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade. You go up the coast, you're in the Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, Old Florida, Republican. Go up further, North Florida, into the Panhandle, that's pretty much Republican, and there's concern there about how the hurricane impacted it. Come on down, Central Florida, Tampa Bay, all the way to Orlando. That's kind of up for grabs, especially up in Orlando. You've got quite a few new and arriving Puerto Ricans coming in.
Right.
In Florida. 16,
hey, Clarence, let me jump in right there. So when you're talking about Tampa Bay to Orlando, for the viewers, that's that famous I-4 corridor they always hear about in the polling when analysts are talking about politics, right?
Exactly, that's right. Now, keep in mind here, can't look at this as a Hispanic. You've got Cuban Hispanics, largely Republican, okay? Then you've got non-Cuban Hispanics, Central South America, they're pretty much the Democratic line. The point and hope is that Mr. DeSantis, who supported Puerto Rican statehood in the House, will get some of those votes, but we don't know that yet. We don't know what's going to happen. Meanwhile, you've got Gillum over here playing the race card big time, right? And you get 9 out of 10 black folks, instead of voting for their issues and their pocketbooks and vouchers in schools and charter schools, over here voting for Gillum, who wants to get rid of vouchers for poor kids. So I think DeSantis has a lot to do in the next 2 days, including utilizing his running mate, Janet Nunez, a Cuban lady, was the president, speaker pro tem, which I never see. Also, DeSantis is going to talk about
Clarence,
what he's going to do.
You raise a really good point, because Janet Nunez is a really solid conservative, hardcore conservative. Yes. She was a Cuban pro tem in the Senate. Why are they not putting her out there more? She is a tremendous asset to the DeSantis campaign.
Because she's also anti-Trump, too.
Yeah, but well, she really hasn't been. That was a while back. But in terms of what Clarence is talking about, the electorate in Florida, Clarence, isn't she a tremendous asset?
Oh, she's a great asset. Plus, I believe when she's not in the House or running for the Senate, by the way, she was going to run for the Senate and would have won, but for going on this ticket. She comes out of the healthcare field. So that would be a great advantage if they used her more. But the point is, turnout. There's a lot of energy down here, and DeSantis, I think, has made another big mistake and just conceding the black vote. He didn't say one thing in those debates about vouchers and putting the fact that Mr. Gillum wants to get rid of them out on the table. Yeah. That's how Scott won. Now, another thing I found out, John, you've got a lot of this Gillum-Scott voting going on. People who will vote for Governor Scott and then come down and go over and vote for, vote for Gillum as governor, and then come down and vote for Scott because of Scott's record here in Florida. A lot of Puerto Ricans because of what he did during the hurricanes, et cetera. So we don't know what's going to happen on that race.
Do you think that phenomenon, Clarence, do you think that phenomenon is real? I'm hearing a lot about it. The crossover RD voter. They're going to vote for Gillum for governor, Scott for Senate. Do you think that's a real phenomenon and there are enough of those people to make that a reality?
Well, I had dinner this week with somebody who is an avid, no matter what she tries to tell anybody, avid, rabid Democrat. And of course I knew she was going to vote for Gillum, but she surprised me when she said she's also voting for Scott just because of what he's done here in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people like that, a lot of people.
All right. Clarence, the
Send me
New
a
Republic
cliffhanger
published an
Tuesday.
article today which stated that while racism played a major role in the 2018 midterms, thanks largely to Trump's desperate attempt to make the migrant caravan a defining issue, the Florida contest is unique in that it's explicitly a referendum on racism. This from the New Republic, Clarence. I know you're a big fan of that publication. Here's what Andrew Gillum had to say earlier this week.
Right.
The kind of politics, the tone that we're seeing right now set nationally and that has seeped into the race here in the state of Florida from day one of this general election is beneath the station of the office, and it's beneath the intelligence of the voters who we're trying to engage in this race and act on their behalf. They want me to get into name calling, but as I will rely on some of the advice from my grandmother, she used to say, never ever wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it. I can think of no one better who wants to wrestle in the mud than the president, Mr. DeSantis.
So Clarence, Gillum's wrestle with pigs soundbite seems to be polling well. He keeps using it. What's your reaction to that audio?
I think it's just showing that Gillum is playing the race card, playing the good old boy, role, all shucks. But here's the point. DeSantis has not been fighting back on that.
Right.
He's had several opportunities in face-to-face debates that say, listen, Mayor, he wants him to call him Mayor, not Andrew. Listen, Andrew, let me tell you something. Quit race baiting. Quit playing the race card. And that's what he's counting on. It's a shame.
Clarence, we only have about a minute left. I wanted to ask you about yesterday. We talked a little bit about a different vote that will be taking place here in Florida on election night. Florida voters will decide whether to bring back voting rights for an estimated 1.5 million felons. What are your thoughts on that, and who's it going to help or hurt?
Amendment 4 you're talking about,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay. I think it's going to pass overwhelmingly. And you know why? You've got not only the ACLU supporting it, you've got the Cook brothers have an organization putting a lot of money into it. This is a very good thing. Charlie Crist, when he was governor, brought up over several 100,000 felons who he gave their rights back to. Scott and his cabinet got rid of that. I don't necessarily believe that all ex-felons are going to vote Democrat. In fact, some of them are going to come out and become Republicans because they're more anti-crime than some of the regular Republicans are.
Could be
so
right.
It's going to pass. It's going to pass.
So you think 4 is going to pass, and it's important to note that the restoration of rights via Amendment 4 does not pertain to those convicted of
Sexual
murder
offenses
or
and
sexual
murder.
offenses.
Exactly, that's right.
It really is for
Nonviolent.
nonviolent.
And some of the ads have been very careful to point out they're using white ex-felons.
Yeah, interesting.
Because the image is, well, ex-felons, you're all talking about blacks and browns. No, there are a lot of white folks in jail and who were in jail too. So this will be a good thing. And this all comes from the old South. We're only one of 4 states that has that. When they got rid of slavery, how are they going to keep blacks out of voting? Well, you put them in jail and then say, if you've been in jail, you can't vote. That's what this is really came from. So it's time to get rid of it.